how is it going? Welcome to the first and the inaugural episode of Sen Stonks. I am your host, Noah Luden, and I'm going to just explain real quick how this series is going to work. So essentially, Sen Stonks, it's pretty simple. If a player's playing well, their stonks are going up. If their player's not playing well, their stonks are going down. And that's really it. I mean, if you want an example, Tim Stützle is a player that we'll touch on most of the roster later, but Tim Stützle stonks, they're going up because he's a phenomenal player. He showed some great skill and talent, and he's phenomenal. He's just great, and he's going to be the future face of the franchise, really, for the Ottawa Senators. So he's going to be very fun to watch. And Erica Branson, they're going down, boys. He's been frustrating to watch. So stuff like that. It's basically that. So this episode we're going to be looking at the entire roster because it is the inaugural episode. So we're going to be looking at the entire roster from top to bottom, basically all the important faces, and I'll be just explaining how their stonks are going up or they're going down or they're staying steady. Some of them are staying steady. But most of the time, for next week's or 2 weeks from now's episode, it won't be every single player because sometimes, it'll be the same result. If Tim Stützle between now and next week only scores 1 goal and 0 assists, then the stonk's not going to go up. They're not going to go down. They're just going to stay stagnant. I'm going to be covering the drastic changes. So let's start. Oh man, it's the worst. The Sens goaltending situation and Matt Murray, man, those stonks are going down. Those stonks are for sure going down. He had a terrible start to the season, man. .849 save percentage. That is not what you want to see from your starting goalie who you pay $6.25 million for 4 years. That's bad. He had a great start to February. He had 5 out of his 6 appearances. He had over a .929 save percentage, so he's playing phenomenally. But it's been a good game since, and then a bad game, and then a good game, and then a bad game. It's not what you want. You need consistency from your... He's getting paid elite goalie money, and he's not playing like an elite goalie. Regardless of the team around him, it's still, you got to put some blame on Murray. He can definitely come back up, though. He obviously won 2 Stanley Cups, like everyone seems to mention, but... he can always rebound. I'm rooting for him, honestly. Now, the other goalie whose stonks are going down, unfortunately, and these are going down real hard. They crashed. Marcus Hogberg, his stonks just got destroyed, really. The hopes were high for Marcus Hogberg, He played really well last year, and on a bad Sens team, they were probably worse last year than they are this year. Realistically, when you look at the roster, they were probably worse last year. And so fans are hoping that maybe Murray would be the, short-term starter and Hogberg could take the helm. And no. He has had 1 start this year above a .900 save percentage, and he has a goals against average of 4.34. He's looked terrible. He's been injured, and, maybe a stint in the AHL is going to help him, but I don't know, man. With this next goalie coming up, I don't know what we do with Hogberg, but for now, he's injured, so we're not going to worry too much about him. And lastly, Joey Daccord, his stonks, oh, baby. They're not rising, they're not skyrocketing, but they're slowly going up. Joey Daccord, he has played very well to start his rookie season. He had one prior start, I think it was in 2018 against the Buffalo Sabres, maybe 2019, where he really did not do well, but that was his only start. So far, he's played pretty well. He's got an NHL win, so you love to see that. He's kept the Sens in a lot of games, which we've needed goalie stability for a while, and Daccord has been the guy who brings it. I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I don't want to say he should be the starter, because I don't think so yet. He's too young, and he's too inexperienced to be the starter. I think Matt Murray still deserves to be that starting goalie of the Ottawa Senators because, what are you going to do with that contract, right? But I think Joey Daccord's stonks are for sure going up. Stonks rising, He's only going to get more comfortable as the starts pile up, and he's proving himself NHL ready. So I think that it should be Murray and then Daccord as the 1B. I guess not even a backup. I'd say a 1B situation might be better for the Ottawa Senators and maybe helps Murray rest up a little bit. Now, let's get to the slightly better but still really bad part about the Sens is their defense. Holy moly, their defense is atrocious. But this guy, Thomas Chabot, he's still a stud. His Stonks are steady right now. He's been playing. He's had a pretty good year. Typical season for him. He has 20 points in 29 games, right? So that's a way better pace than last year. He's logged 26 minutes per game of ice time, so he's still a workhorse on the ice. So he logs a lot of minutes for this team because, I mean, frankly, the rest of the team on defense kind of sucks. But, you know, what can you do? And he's taken that role as that number one defenseman for the Sens. He's done pretty well with it. There's still some, you know, things he might need to clean up in his own end. He's only 24, though, or 23. And, yeah, 23 he is. He just turned 23 in January, so really he's still a young defenseman. His prime isn't even there yet. He definitely needs to improve his defense, but he has tons of time to do it, and I think that his Stonks will be rising again very soon. But for now, it's about what it was last year, maybe a little bit better. That's for Thomas Chabot. Now, Artem Zub. This guy is turning into one of the Sens fans' favorite guys on the team. His Stonks, they're rising really high. They're going fast because no one knew who the heck he was. I didn't know who he was when we signed him. We signed him as an unrestricted free agent last year, and man, has he been an analytical darling this year. He's been extremely stout on defense. The analytics love him, as I said, and he's also chipped in 7 points in 23 games. He scored a phenomenal goal against Toronto on the breakaway out of the penalty box. I think, yeah, out of the penalty box, PK Subban-esque, like he did against Boston in that playoff series. And he's also, the one other thing about Artem Zub is that he seems to be forming a little bit of chemistry with Mike Riley as well, who he was lost before for sure, and now he looks like he's actually not that bad. So we're going to talk about Riley. Riley, his Stonks were low. They were plummeting, like kind of like a Marcus Hogberg plummeting. They were bad. But, you know, they're coming back up. He's been playing very well. Obviously, that chemistry with Artem Zub helps. You know, he has 11 assists in 30 games, which is pretty good, you know. That's what you expect, probably, out of a Mike Riley type of guy. Maybe your fourth or fifth defenseman, more offensive-minded. But he's still been pretty good in his defensive zone. There's still those mishaps. At the beginning of the season, he definitely looked like a pylon who was just ready to be replaced, but he's definitely rebounded with Zub. I like that second pairing that they have with Zub and Riley. It actually seems to have some good chemistry, and so I like what they're doing up there with those two. Now, what I don't like, how do I say this? How do I say this nicely? Eric and Branson, the stocks are down. They're not just down. They are at the bottom of the barrel. They are terrible. Eric Branson is taking valuable time away from guys like Wolanin, guys like, obviously, Eric Brandstrom, who we'll talk about a bit later as well, alongside Wolanin, and even Josh Brown. Hell, put Josh Brown in instead of this guy. This Gabranson guy, the only thing that Gabranson has done, probably the only thing that he still brings is that, you know, the grit and leadership that Gabranson brings. Otherwise, man, he hasn't been good. Offensively, he has 3 points in 32 games. He hasn't been good defensively. He's a minus 15 this year, and he doesn't even log 20 minutes ice time. That's crazy. For contrast, Chabot is a minus 12, and he logs almost half the game. So, you know, think of it that way. Gabranson has not played well at all this year, and his Stonks are going down, but, you know, grit and leadership means he's going to be the sixth defenseman for the rest of the year, and there was a report that was saying that he might come back next year. I'm not excited for that one for sure. Now, Nikita Zaitsev, this will be quick for Zaitsev, but they were high. Nikita Zaitsev started off the season phenomenally. He had a pretty solid, I think he had like 4 points in 5 games. He had really good analytics. He was looking good, and now he just fell back to typical Zaitsev. You know, hopefully, they've been going down recently. The Stonks are going down, but not as much as Branson. They're not that low, but, you know, he's going back to his last year in Toronto kind of days where, you know, the fans kind of getting sick of him. But, you know, that early season, the early start, he was really good at the beginning of the season, and that's saving him from, you know, being waived, or, I mean, I guess the contract is too. So, you hope for a rebound from Zaitsev. He's been paired with Shabbat as well, so I don't know if it's that he's getting carried by Shabbat or he's pulling Shabbat down from being a better player. Who knows? But we're gonna need a better season here from Zaitsev. Now, the two question marks right now that I'm not really going to say about the Stonks for these two, but Brandstrom and Wolanin. So Brandstrom, he's played pretty well. There's been a lot of defensive mishaps and penalty trouble specifically for Brandstrom. He has 10 penalty minutes in 14 games. That's a really bad pace, actually. If I do my quick math, that's like, holy cow, that's like 60 penalty minutes in an 82-game season. That's way too much for a guy like Erik Brandstrom. It's not like he's a big guy with a long hockey stick and he's tripping people. Like, it's stuff in the head that he needs to really, he needs to adapt to the NHL level. But offensively, he's looked phenomenal. He looks very at home on the power play. That goal that he scored from center ice was sick against David Riddick. But past that, I could see why he's getting benched. I don't think he should be, though. I think he should be playing instead of Gudbranson. But that's just me. So Brandstrom right now, the Stonks are going to stay steady. But they're at grave risk of going down. There also could be potential that they go up soon. And Wolanin is an interesting one. I personally am not a big fan of Christian Wolanin's game, It seems like he's a carbon copy of every other defenseman that we have on the team. Honestly, like, he seems like a Shabbat kind of guy, but a lot worse just overall. And he hasn't even been playing well this year. He has 2 points in 12 games. That's not enough. And he's already in 12 games. He's a -8. And so, like, suboptimal numbers, he's been injured in and out and in and out. He was injured last year. I don't know what he can do, if he can do anything, but he has to rebound really soon if he wants that NHL opportunity, because right now Brandstrom's been the better of the two, for sure. But the competition is not high for Wolanin, so right now, I think in the past couple games, he's had third pairing minutes. He really has to be pushing hard, and, staying healthy is a big thing. Durability is very important. And, he has to improve his play, but he has a lot of potential. He could be a top 6 guy for Ottawa if he keeps on grinding, but right now it's not looking good for Wolanin. Now is when it gets interesting. Now, let me move my chair a little bit. Now is where it gets fun. The offense for the Sens. This is where I was honestly surprised. I thought it was low-key. I thought it was going to be the goalie that was the best part of the season. We just acquired Matt Murray. Marcus Hogberg was great last year. I thought going into the season, it was going to be our goalies trying to bail us out. It's actually our offense. They've been playing phenomenally well. The 4 young forwards, that 4-headed monster that the Sens have right now, they've been phenomenal. Even though not many people are surprised, the young guns on offense have been meeting or even exceeding expectations. They've been phenomenal. Let's start with Drake Batherson. Drake Batherson has 21 points in 32 games. He has 11 goals. He even had a streak of scoring a goal in 6 straight games. He's been phenomenal on the roster this year. This is his first real season on the starting roster. He's had a couple of seasons. The last 2 seasons, he had 30 games played or 20 games played in each. But now it's his he's really in the starting lineup, So Drake Batherson's look phenomenal. His Stonks, they're rising. Josh Norris, his Stonks are rising. 16 points in 32 games. He's 3rd in rookie scoring in the NHL. He's just been phenomenal. He's not the flashiest player on the team, but he's been very productive. I do think he needs to calm down a little bit in terms of his shot, because I feel like there have been a lot of times where Norris whiffs a shot wide, and we're like, oh man, can you put it on net? But he's a rookie. He makes those mistakes. He gets a little bit of leeway there, but he's been phenomenal. 3rd in rookie scoring. And we're going to talk real soon about the guy who's in 2nd in rookie scoring. He's been phenomenal as well. But first, Brady Tkachuk, another good season so far. 22 points in 32 games. In his 3rd NHL season, he improves. He has the best point pace right now in his career. He's on pace to get above 50 points for the first time in his career, if it was an 82-game season, obviously. And he makes a very strong case. Right now, he's been pushing to make a very strong case to be the future Sens captain. With his great leadership, he boosts the morale every time he brings that physical play. He's a phenomenal asset, and the Sens should be extremely pleased that they use that 4th overall selection on him. So Brady Tkachuk, Stonks rising, Norris rising. Batherson rising, and now it's the Golden Goose. The Golden Goose. This player, Tim Stützle, man. What can you say about him? He has 18 points in 29 games, but the stats don't really tell the entire story. He's been so good this year for Ottawa. He's been exceeding expectations. When you look at a guy, compare him to how the top two picks of that draft have done, the Lafrenières and the Byfields of the world have done, Tim Stützle is making a case that he can be the best forward of the draft. I don't want to say anything right now because it's way too early to tell, but if he continues his trajectory, he could really show himself to be the best forward in that draft, the best player in that draft, and he can be a real steal for Ottawa at 3. And he's had some really good highlights, especially against the rival Toronto Maple Leafs. That first goal where the puck was, holy cow, how high was it in the air? And he just bats it home. It hopped once on the ice, and he smacked it home past Anderson, I think. And then that slick pass, oh my goodness. I saw it on the power play a couple days ago. They were in the zone. He fakes going oh my god, that was just slick by Stützle. Everyone loves him. Jimmy Stu, everyone loves this guy, and he could be the best forward of the draft. Now, another young guy who used to be, I guess, part of that young guns Sens, but he kind of fell off a little bit. But now his Stonks are rising again. His Stonks, they're recovering. They're going back up. Colin White, he had a bad year last year. It was bad, man. Especially with the year that he had in 2019. He played great in 2019, but then 2020, it was just not his year. 2021, 14 points in 27 games. That's not great, but he does have a lack of ice time. He's not really getting played that much. So he still has a point every other game, so that's still more than 41 point pace. So that's still a solid trajectory for him. He had like 20 something last year, so it's definitely good for 41 points in an 82 game season. He's been improving. Hopefully that he doesn't get benched again for guys like I will mention very soon, Artem Anisimov, who has no business being in the lineup instead of Colin White. But now he seems like he's really getting his normal play time, and Stepan as well was taking his ice time. So his Stonks are rising. Let's just hope he continues his good, he progresses really well. He's 24, 25, so he's kind of getting up there towards his prime, so let's hope that he can really, fulfill his contract as well. He has a big contract on him, 4.3 or 4.6 million on him, so he really has to keep going. But right now, very happy with how Colin White has been performing. Very not happy with how Anisimov has been performing. Artem Anisimov, just why, man? He's been underwhelming every sense of the word. He has 4 points in 14 games. I guess he's been injured recently, so do with that information what you want, but he's been taking, like, these guys like Stepan. I didn't put Stepan on this because Stepan's kind of been, he hasn't played since February, so there's no point. But Anisimov has taken away chances from guys like, he's a big reason why guys like Rudolph Balcers gets put on waivers, gets claimed. I think Philip Schlappick got put on waivers as well. Logan Brown is stuck in the AHL because Artem Anisimov is taking his spot. It's stuff like that it's just puzzling why we still have this guy on our team, why we're still playing him on our team. I guess we can't find a trade partner, but I have not liked Artem Anisimov's play. He's made a bunch of defensive mishaps, and he's not providing any offense. There's been no value from Anisimov, and I need more. I need a lot more. Now, we're going to talk about 2 more individual players, and then we'll do some rapid fire. Some other guys, other veterans on the team that, there isn't that big of a conversation, but I still want to touch on them. So first, we'll go for Dadonov. He's one of the 2 guys that there's still a lot to talk about. The Sens paid Evgeny Dadonov 3 years, $15 million total. His Stonks are falling. I really don't want to say it because I loved what he did against Toronto, the tie game, and then the winning goal in overtime. But past that, he has 9 goals, 2 assists in 32 games. Like if he had 9 goals, 9 assists, 9 goals, like 11 assists, I'm thinking that money's worth. But we paid Evgeny Dadonov. One of the biggest reasons that everyone was pointing out was that the Sens power play last year was abysmal. They were terrible. And we're going to bring in Evgeny Dadonov, who had, I think, 10 or 11 goals, or 9, somewhere between 9 and 11 goals power play on Florida last year. He has 0 power play goals this year and just 1 assist on the power play. It has not been what we expected, and we need a lot more from Dadonov, a lot more consistent play. He had a stretch in the middle of the year where he had like 5 goals in 6 games, including that great game against Toronto. He's been invisible past that. We need to really be a little bit harsher on Dadonov. A little harsher on Dadonov, and I think that he's got to play better. He's got to fulfill his contract, but there's time. Don't worry. The Sens don't need to be a playoff team this year. They're supposed to be bad. I'm not worried right now, but for the next year and the year after, I need a little bit more from Dadonov. And the last man who we're going to talk about completely in his own segment, Nick Paul. His Stonks, they're rising. I guess he's been a little bit quieter recently, but I'm still going to go with the Stonks are rising. He's been a pleasant surprise. He has 11 points in 32 games. Kind of like Dadonov. They have the same amount of points, but Nick Paul comes out of nowhere. This guy was about to be named as a bust from the Jason Spezza trade, obviously, and we're just going to throw him under the bus and throw him to free agency. Right now, he's a valued bottom 6 forward on the team right now. 11 points in 32 games. That's not even bad for his standards. He's one of the only plus players on the team as well, which is phenomenal because the Sens suck. So it's crazy that he's one of the only plus players. I think one of their I think it was Artem Zub is also a plus player. But past that, man, a lot of them are minus 10, minus 11. And Nick Paul has found a way to still be a plus player on the team, which is a massive achievement. And he's been a train. I use, it's something good when I'm watching a Sens game and I always notice that a player is out there. I notice when Nick Paul is out there. He's chugging along, chugga. He's a Nick Paul train. He is going at 100% every single shift, finishing his checks, trying to make something happen every time. He's an exciting player to have on your team. And we were thinking that he was a bust about last year. Fans were like, okay, Nick Paul, we need something. And here we go. This year he's been performing very well. He's a valued bottom 6 forward on the team. And finally, there's some rapid fire. Just some rapid fire veterans that I want to quickly touch on. There's 4 of them here. I guess 5. I'll talk about Clark Bishop for a second, even though he's only played 3 games. But first, Connor Brown has been pretty good. He gets a ton of chances this year. He tons of breakaways. Holy cow, how many breakaways does Connor Brown get? Shorthanded especially, and he just hasn't really put the puck in the net. He's kind of like Nick Paul though. What I like about him, he's always 100% every shift. That's what I like about Connor Brown. But you need to start putting the puck in the net, especially on those prime chances. He had a couple against Vancouver on Monday. I need a little bit more from Brown. His Stonks, they're steady. Ryan Dzingel has been pretty solid since we got him. He has 3 goals, which is really good. He has a reduced role on the team as well, so you don't expect him to get, be a 30-goal scorer or anything. And the Stonks, I'd say they're steady on him as well. He's a pretty solid veteran who can, mentor some of the younger players. And, we got to lose Cedric Paquette for him, so thank God for that. He was terrible. And so Ryan Dzingel, happy to have him here. His Stonks, they're steady. Chris Tierney, his Stonks are falling. We need more from Chris Tierney. He's been probably the most, not the most, but on offense, I've needed a little bit more from Tierney. I guess he has a slightly reduced role on the team since all those rookies have come up, but I'm still going to need a little bit more from Chris Tierney. Kind of like Dadonov, he's kind of been invisible a lot of the times, and it's hard to see what he brings to the team, especially with these young players coming up and, draft and free agency next year. It's hard to see what a guy like Tierney brings if he keeps on playing like this. His Stonks are falling, man. We got to talk about Chris Tierney. He has not been that great this year. And the last guy, actually 2 more. Austin Watson, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Austin Watson. Of course, Brandon made that post on Twitter about Austin Watson being a warrior. He is. He will go down to block any shot whatsoever. And, we all saw that on Monday when he went down to block a shot. He got shot directly in the neck, took him to the neck. We're like, okay, dang, let's hope he's only out for like a day or two. He comes back within 2 minutes, and he's back killing a penalty, and he's back like diving in front of players to block shots. This guy, and there was a clip in Nashville as well that I saw recently of him trying to block a shot even though he had his helmet off. Like, this guy puts his body on the line to block shots, and he does it great. He leads forwards in block shots in the entire NHL. He is the forward who has the most block shots, and the second most is Boone Jenner with 40. He has 42, and then third is like 32. Austin Watson is on an island of his own in terms of defensive play, penalty killing, and blocking shots, and he's an underappreciated piece on the Ottawa Senators, in my opinion. His Stonks, they're rising. And lastly, Clark Bishop. There's not really much to talk about him. He's played 3 games on the team, but we'll say his Stonks are rising. He's played 3 games. He looked pretty solid. He has some good chances, but there's not really much else to say. Next episode, we'll talk more about Clark Bishop if he keeps on getting ice time and stuff. But right now, Stonks, they're slowly rising. We didn't expect anything, so, as long as we got anything from him, pretty solid stuff. So that will be it for the first ever episode of Sen Stonks. I appreciate everyone for coming by. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Follow Brandon or Sens Talk at Twitter at @SensTalk_ or Instagram at Sens Talk. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Noah_Luden. That's my Twitter if you want to see more of me. Thank you guys so much for coming by. I appreciate it. And obviously, like and subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications when a new video goes up. Buy your Sens Talk shotgun tools on the website. Links definitely in the description. And I appreciate it, guys. And, we'll see you guys for episode 2. Thank you.